Hello, everyone. Welcome live again with Andreas, our CEO. Hi there, Andreas. How are you going?
I'm good. How are you, Sylvie?
I'm also good. So today we're here. So I see already some people joining us. We will start from our, let's say, beautiful feature that you guys are enjoying very much, the LiDAR Auto-Scan. And then we will go a bit back in time on, let's say, how everything started and so on. And then, of course, if you have any questions, we also have our comment live here. So we're ready to answer them. So, Andreas, we started with this beautiful feature, the LiDAR Auto-Scan, as I just mentioned a couple of months ago. But how does, let's say, how did the magicplan journey start? Because we have to go back to 2011. Would you like to tell us something more about it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this was the idea of the call today. We have some amazing feedback right now. We have questions asked in the community. We have feedback on the App Store on the new beta version of the LiDAR Auto-Scan. And I thought, in preparation to our call today, why not make this a little bit of a bigger picture and longer discussion and see how those elements of this what we call capture have evolved over time. And I mean, this is basically the founding principle on which magicplan was created in 2010 and then initially launched in 2011. And basically back those 12 years ago or 13 years ago, the idea was by a group of computer vision experts, hey, how can we use those cameras that pop up in those phones, right? That was still early days of the smartphone. We brought a picture here. So it was iPhone 4S that was launched around that time, or iPhone 4. And basically the idea was, okay, can we use the camera in this phone or handheld computer, as some would call it back then, to basically scan the world around us? And that was really the idea from day one, is like world mapping. So the initial idea was, can we use computer vision to do that? And to be honest, the limitations were too many, right? It was not possible at that point in time. So first of all, the technology was not there, the algorithms were not there, and whatnot. It didn't work. But nonetheless, there was a possibility of saying, okay, if we do some math and use those phones, we can do a kind of triangulation.
Let's see. I had a short
okay. Let's watch the video.
Beginning.
Okay, so still at that point in time in 2011, you could use your phone to scan a room. And how did that happen? Basically, you see in this picture, you positioned yourself as a tripod, and kind of by the movement of your phone, there was some calculations in the back, and you could get a rightly proportioned room, right? So that was the first implementation then of this, obviously not can we scan the world or world mapping, but with that you could actually achieve a very minor but still crucial and important first step of scanning a room. So I'm suspecting I'm again talking too much too fast.
No, it's fine, because also it gives, I believe, like this video gives an idea on how different it was, right? So there was a lot of effort behind it already, but you see that it was, let's say, pretty different than how it is now, right?
Yes, absolutely. So, but what was the beauty of it? You could basically now, for the first time, use your phone to map out something without pen and paper, without having to have like an additional measurement device. Basically, you entered your personal height, and the program and whatnot did the rest. So that was step number one, but that was kind of the initial success and, let's say, the party trick for which magicplan became known for. And even though it was like far away from where we are now and what we actually wanted to achieve, that kind of was the first step in that direction. And then basically the second step was in 2017, Apple launched something called ARKit, right? And when before you did this complicated math by using the person's height, then thereafter you did pretty much the same technology or kind of like algorithmic approach, but you could use your phone. You could use the movement in your phone rather than including the person to achieve a next step, which is your phone in itself had the capability to measure, right? And what did this allow? So at that point, first of all, you could move freely in the room, which was one crucial bit. And then secondly, it gave us a little bit more freedom in terms of implementing that computer vision part, which I talked about in the very beginning in 2011. And also the devices were more powerful at that time. So maybe we check out the second video and then I can talk us through that.
Here we go.
So what you see here, you basically see the live measurement happening while you use your device to scan a room. And this new step and this new addition was, okay, now you can add height. And then you have the full kind of like 3D room. And within that 3D room, or let's say net, you could actually recognize, position, and size doors and windows. Those were the first elements that the computer vision algorithm checked. So that was like, what was it? Can I do the calculation? Like 8 years into the project, 6 years into the project, that this capability was launched. And that was kind of a crucial step because, first of all, it added another dimension. So rather than just a 2D floor plan, you now had like 3D, and you added more elements. Rather than just the basic shape, you now added more kind of objects on the wall, doors, windows, later on outlets, plugs, radiators and stuff like that. And that was the second step. But still a little bit far away from where we are today.
Okay, so magicplan started without the 3D at the beginning. So you were only able to, let's say, do your floor plan and scan the rooms, right?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And also, I mean, what you saw in there, all of those principles, they are coming from the assumption that you go room by room. So, I mean, obviously, from this very early day, if you have to make yourself a tripod, you can't move, right? Yeah. So that can only be one room. And then also in this second step, kind of to not make things too complicated and not get mixed up. Again, for some technical limitations, it was important that you did not move too much. Otherwise, the kind of like calculation couldn't keep up, and then you would not have good results eventually. So those were still those two limitations that we had with those versions. And then subsequently, there was kind of one major technological shift. Up until now, we were camera-based, right? Camera-based and the sensors in the device. And then in 2020, there was another dimension added to the iPhones and iPads, which were those LiDAR sensors. So that was the next step. And the beauty there is now you didn't have to do any kind of triangulation about the measurements, but with those LiDAR sensors, obviously there is again some math involved, but you did have actual measurements, so to speak. It's not technically correct what I'm saying. I know that, but
that
kind
is
of like
understandable.
Yeah, I think with those laser, and now you had included a laser. With those lasers, you had actual measurements with absolute distances, and that is important. Let's just keep it there. So that was one big step, and then additionally to that, I mean, the computer vision and the algorithms and whatnot kept up, which eventually brought us to this possibility of doing a auto-scan with almost no human interaction. That is something that we saw in the videos briefly, but which we have not stressed. So, I mean, in both those early versions, you always had the combination of the person and the device, right? And
yes.
as a person, you had to mention and basically signal to the device what you see on the screen, and it would then use that information to come up with the room shape or to come up with those objects. And with the auto scan, now basically almost everything is done automatically by the device. Okay, the name is suggesting it. And we can check out this video here.
The one that Bernd did recently.
Yeah, genau. The one that we published on the channels. And what is the new thing? Because of those LiDAR devices and having measurements, the device knows more of its surroundings, so you need a little less human interaction. And you can, for now, also not only do room by room, but you actually can do kind of subsequent rooms one after another, which is a big topic that's coming up here. And one that is also now introduced, you are suddenly able to not only dimension, recognize, and place objects which are on the walls, right? That was the net that you had initially. But you are also, because of the new sensor technology and those lasers, you are much more easy to recognize anything that's placed within the room, right? For various reasons, we can go into detail in the question section or in another video. That was not something that was possible before, but that is possible now.
I think it's pretty, let's say, impressive to see how much it changed within, I mean, a few years, right? So we saw the video where you had to stand and do not move in the middle of the room, and then you could move a bit more, and now you can just walk freely around the room and you have your floor plan.
Yeah, and I mean, that's why, like, obviously, the topic of today is LiDAR Auto-Scan, but what we thought, or I thought would be interesting is to see a little bit the trajectory of what was the status like only a couple of years ago. I think you phrased it very kindly, Sylvia. It's more than 10 years. It's more than a decade. You could also say it like that. But nonetheless,
it's not a lot.
It's not a lot. Yes. So in a conceivable amount of time, let's say it like that.
Yes.
You had massive changes, and I mean that's what us here at magicplan excites us going forward, because I mean it's not going to stop, right? So this is only one path of the journey that we are on, and we, I think, have gained two crucial capabilities with the LiDAR Auto-Scan. One is you really need to do less interaction. That is great because you can make less mistakes, but it's also a bit of a downside because you are less in control, and that's something that we are going to talk about in a little. And then secondly, the second huge step is that now you can actually do room after room in one continuous scan. That was something that we kind of worked on and thought about for a long period of time, which was something that was just not yet feasible, but is possible now. And that is, again, I think just in the perception of everything, makes it much more accessible. And also, rather than the perception, the actual topics and tasks that you need to do. Previously, you had to do room by room, and then you had to kind of connect them. And that was something where it was not quite easy, right? That was a big cause of frustration or point of error. And that is something that's going away. It again also has a second pitfall, which we can talk about in a bit. But those, first of all, are the two cool positives. And I think the actual session, we are halfway in, about what might be the pitfalls could be the second part of our conversation.
Okay, yes, because I mean, now it's 2 months that we have this LiDAR Auto-Scan. So of course you guys tested it, and we also got some feedback, and thanks for that. So Andreas, the main, let's say, I wouldn't say issue, but the thing that some users are facing is the fact that they cannot close a room, or if they're scanning a bigger open space, that it's a bit tricky. So what would you suggest to these users to have, I mean, to make it a bit easier?
Yeah, I mean, on this one, I know those recommendations are always tricky because you say, hey, that's the confinement I'm in and I want it to work there. And I know, me too, right? Trust me, I would love nothing more as if it would work flawlessly everywhere. However, if you run into situations where you basically have big glass windows or glass walls or open spaces, this new LiDAR Auto-Scan and the laser doesn't have anything to interact with. So there, it doesn't close. And as I said, as it's auto, you have less interaction of actually manipulating what you need to do. So two remarks there. First of all, if possible, find anything the laser can interact with. It can be like a small strip, and then it will recognize this. You have the freedom to move. Maybe you do. If it's completely open, then that may not work. So the second answer there is we recognize the problem and we are aware of it, and we are currently working on a methodology for you to kind of manually close whatever you need to close there. So this is for one workaround, one outlook into the future, and then last resort is just don't use the auto-scan. Yeah, I mean, that's the most disappointing one, obviously, but we still have the old method, so to say, which gives you the ability to actually are in control and mark the corners and say, hey, I do want to close the room here. So that is one element. And you also obviously always have the option to just simply draw something. So this is a little bit how we want to tackle it going forward, giving you more possibility and freedom to actually adjust. Maybe you can find a workaround and actually recognize anything.
We can show the other scan, so the one that we call the manual scan. So
yeah.
This one here. I mean, it's not very different, but you can still use it, like, let's say, easily. Because I also started using it.
You can either wait for the recognition of the corner, or you can just tap the screen, and you tap the screen twice, and then you have a line even though there is no wall. So that's still an option if you want to use that. But then again, it's it still is not the same as just the other thing working. I obviously recognize that.
You can still like scan big open spaces, then select the openings, and so on. Voila.
Voila.
So
Thank you.
this would be, let's say, a walk around if you have a big open space. Then I also had some users saying, okay, I scanned, let's say, 3 rooms. And in the end, I saw a big room in my app. What was the error in that case, in your opinion?
I mean, on this one, I can only make assumptions. But what we deliberately did is we said, okay, we still want to kind of like stay true to the principle of room by room. So we asked the user to kind of close and name every room and then go on to the next one. So my only assumption is that we just need to be better in terms of our user interface here and make it more clear and more explicit of what we want the user to do. And we think that it's a good step to kind of name the room while you're on the go. That's probably up for debate. Maybe we can do a simple poll vote here in the live or later on in the community. But that's kind of the implementation we choose to do. And we need to be more explicit about how to showcase this. That's my main assumption of what might have happened here. And then the second one is depending on, like, eventually, if you do the auto room scan across multiple rooms, they need to be consistent in the terms of layout and size and shape. And if for some reason, could be any, they are not consistent, then again, the algorithm gets confused and does something random that you seemingly don't understand from the input you gave it. But that is something where, like, I think it's mostly, again, on our end, where we just take that feedback as a hint on where we need to improve in our next implementation.
Yep. Otherwise, if someone has, let's say, 2 rooms, one near each other, and it's recognized as a big room, you can still go in the app and split the room. It's, my idea.
Yeah, if overall you are happy with the shape, it's basically 3 clicks and then you can split the rooms, but obviously that's not the original idea. So room after room, press pause, label it, continue to the next room, then it should work. If it doesn't, still might be that for whatever reason there are some inconsistencies. That is something that we will need to observe going forward. And this is V1 and the first iteration. So I think the algorithms are going to be more stable with every new iteration that is going to come.
Okay. And there was also a couple or one specific use case that I saw this week with the columns. So if you scan a room with the LiDAR Auto-Scan and you have some columns, how does it behave?
Yeah, on this one, again, I have not seen the video and I don't know, but the column could easily be mistaken for a wall. If you want to make sure that it's not the case, basically spend more time on it so that the system understands, okay, this is a column and not a wall. So that's a little bit the pitfall. And so if there is a column, try and scan it from all 4 sides, and then it, to be honest, would just not be recognized. If you only have one element, then it can happen that it gets extrapolated and then it's being recognized as a wall. I think that's the only thing that I could say with regards to that specific use case. But to be honest, I would need to try and test again myself.
Yeah, because perhaps it also depends on the size of the column. So if you have a little column or a column that it's like, 1 meter, then maybe it's, let's say, more easily recognized as a wall. It could be.
Could be. Theoretically, we'll double check. We'll again take that as a real life test case that we try and have a more definite answer in the next session.
And I believe the last, let's say, main topic that we had still regarding the LiDAR Auto-Scan was about the furniture, because as we know, at the moment, you scan everything, right? So you have the windows, the doors, the wardrobes, tables, and so on. Everything is scanned in. How can, let's say, the user expect it to be in the future? What changes will be there?
Yeah, that is also something where we are really keen on getting feedback. One option is to let the user decide whether they want to scan or actually draw then subsequently the furniture or not, or have it imported or not. But on this one, just as with the case of the column, it's not 100% clear whether it is supposed to be one way or the other. So that's where we are really keen on getting user feedback, and then expect an update and a new version of this in the coming months, where you definitely, again, have more control, right? This is, as I mentioned, V1 beta, and what was one of the founding principles of magicplan is kind of have the interaction between the user and the device and put the user in control. And that is something that we are going to add step by step going forward to give the user more control going forward.
Perfect. But still, if someone just wants to scan the room without anything, without the furniture, you can still use the manual scan, and you only have walls and openings, for example.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. You could also just don't point at the floor. But,
don't point.
I'm digressing.
Well, the walk around for now.
It's not going to pick it up. Yeah.
Oh, well, I wanted to say you can just, let's say, delete the furniture afterward. That works flawlessly.
Yeah. Maybe not the most sympathetic comments, but both options would actually work. Yeah.
Yes. Okay, so we don't have any questions for now. I see we're still quiet today. In general, we always have some questions and people asking some curiosity about, I don't know, the app, new features. But today, I think we're quiet.
Maybe our topic was so broad and our time scale so long that we got everyone confused. So.
Okay, so I believe if we do not have any comments, any questions for Andreas, we can slowly close our live video. I believe that we... Yep, Andreas, tell me.
Thank you for joining. I hope you enjoyed. If you have any questions thereafter, please post them or join the community. Happy to discuss. As you mentioned, or as you probably observed, it's a topic of great interest for us. So we are happy to, in almost any level of technical detail, discuss that. But also we are very pragmatic in terms of solutions. So some of the suggestions we had are, yes, not the most beautiful, but hopefully effective.
Yeah, also here I have the community in the meantime, so feel free to take a look there. Perhaps I always say maybe there is someone that is using the app exactly for your, let's say, use case, so you can also have an exchange of ideas, right? So with other users. Okay, perfect. So Andreas, thank you so much for your time. Thank you everyone for following us in these last 30 minutes. Andreas, do you want to say something?
Thank you, Sylvia, for hosting and organizing, and thanks everyone for dialing in or watching thereafter. Have a great day.
Okay, bye everyone. See you in the next live video.
Bye-bye.